Chapter 17. The rays of mid-morning slice through the quiet city skyline as Sandman gimps through the back alleys of the ruined city. He stops to catch his breath and tighten the tourniquet around his left thigh. Not even the king of the ruined city escapes unscathed. The whole ordeal left him drained. Summoning Cerberus took a heavy toll on his body. The book's written knowledge is just as much a curse as it is a gift. This ancient tome with no name is devised and created in the theory of equivalence of exchange. You receive what you put into it. For each action taken in this reality, there must be an equal price to pay. And to Sandman, it is a cost he accepts to unlock the mysteries of the universe. Life and death are devised through balance. One cannot outweigh the other. The pendulum must rest at absolute zero, complete harmony. For every kind act, there must be an equal act of evil, and vice versa. Sandman knows this all too well as he fights off his body's desire to succumb to unconsciousness from the loss of blood. He is almost there. Only a little bit farther to go. His adrenaline spikes as his body pinpoints another injury. He lifts his right pant leg and finds a gash along his calf, another cause of his sluggish demeanor. He produces a knife sheathed on his right hip and cuts a section of his trench coat. Sandman wraps it around the wound and secures the knot forcefully. He grunts in pain and drops the pant leg back down. The fallen king checks his satchel again, making sure the book is still in his possession. Over time, the book bound itself to Sandman, another aspect of the balance. For each inscription read or verse recited, Sandman relinquished a piece of himself over to the book. The book, in essence, is feeding on his soul, and he knows this. He accepts this fate. His curiosity far outweighs logic. This inquisitiveness will indeed, one day, kill the cat. Finally mustering enough strength, Sandman pushes onward through the shadowy alleyway toward the next intersection. He comes to the edge of the building and kneels down, scanning the foliage-filled juncture. The morning sun has yet to cast its warm rays over the street. His destination is the adjacent alleyway, but two ghouls block him from proceeding. One of the transparent ghouls hangs on the face of the neighboring building. The ghastly apparition is shrouded in a bluish mist. The ghouls let out weak moans, but high-pitched enough for Sandman to hear. Ghouls are imprints of a living being that went through a tragic experience before death, thus leaving a kind of timestamp of the event. Over time, the sliver of energy merges with the force it is surrounded by, fusing into a peaceful presence, or something darker, a kind of copy of someone's soul that gives life unto itself. These two imprints have long succumbed to the evil that dwells in the ancient city, sucking the life force from any living organism that they come in contact with. Ghouls are typically nocturnal. These two are safely concealed in the building's shadow. The occultist has no time for these lesser beings. He reaches for his knife and picks up a chunk of pavement next to him. He slices his left palm open, then sheathes the blade. Using his right index finger as a brush and the blood as paint, Sandman writes several runes on the crumbled piece of pavement. As he completes the dark arts and crafts activity, he brings the painted rubble to his lips and recites an incantation. The excess blood from his palm is then smeared across the crimson runes. He looks for the two apparitions, one still hanging on the building, while the other has picked up the scent of fresh blood. Before the ghouls spot him, Sandman tosses the rubble down the street to his right. The blood rock takes several generous bounces off the asphalt, mimicking the sound of a crying child running down the street. The ghouls will take it as easy prey. Both ghouls sense the iron in his blood. The hanging ghost leaps off the building and glides down next to the other. Like rabid hounds, they knock each other side to side as they give chase to the distraction. Giving ample amount of distance before he proceeds, Sandman takes the opportunity to slice another bandage from his dusty coat. He dresses the wound on his palm and staggers back to his feet, using the wall as support. The euphoric haze of blood loss bangs against his face as he stumbles through the intersection. He peers down the street, checking on the two pursuing ghouls. They have almost vanished from sight. He heads to the other side, using the alley wall as a brace with his right hand. With all his strength, he limps through the shaded alley. It won't be long before the ghouls figure out his ruse. His pace quickens as he hobbles closer to the stacked metal pieces. A hellish cry explodes out from the rotted street behind him. The ghouls have found the decoy. A cold chill runs up his spine, telling the calculating trickster they have picked up his scent. They glide down the street back to the damp passageway, and the dark conjurer hurries to the metal scrap heap. Sandman lets go of the wall and hobbles to the metal sanctuary. Less than 10 yards away, he makes the grave mistake of looking back. Both ghouls have made it to the opening of the alley. One advances on the ground while the other travels along the wall toward their prey. This lapse of judgment causes Sandman to trip over an elevated piece of concrete, smacking face first into the ground. Sharp pain shoots across his face, and stars shine in his eyes as he loses all motivation. The ghouls see their prey's misstep, increasing in speed as they crawl wickedly closer. The stars clear from his eyes just enough for him to crawl forward to the metal mound. He looks back again just in time to see the ghoul, crawling along the wall, leap off and shove the other to the side. The pushed apparition shrieks in anger and lashes out at the other transparent creature. They scuffle, just the chance Sandman needs to stagger to his feet. He's almost there. The dark hole is in sight. Sandman is only able to take several more steps before dropping to one knee as pain overtakes adrenaline. The ghouls quit their squabble and continue the pursuit of the blood-soaked meal. He's right there. One last leap and he's safe from the hellish apparitions. Sandman fights back the exhaustive aching and pushes off, leaping toward the deepening shadow of salvation. The fallen king dives right through the opening, with one of the ghouls narrowly missing his left ankle. Both hollow spirits smack against the rusted barrier and shriek out in terror. The metal heap burns their smoke-like bodies. Numerous runic symbols and ancient words are etched in the interior of the barrier, keeping all ethereal specters at bay. Furious and in intense agony, the ghouls glide away, not before giving off one last shriek of rage. Sandman lays for a moment in pain-filled laughter, in complete surprise and shock that he made it. He pats the satchel with his left hand. The tap turns into slow petting. Feeling that the book is still in his possession brings great comfort. The occultist wipes the blood from his nose and slides his hand back to scratch his buzzed head before stumbling to his feet. Before him is a large wooden door, plagued with runic markings. He knocks on the door in distinct patterns. A brief pause fills the alleyway, coupled with the short, wheezing breaths of the occultist. A slit on the door slides open, revealing two eyes peering dreadfully at Sandman. The irises are black. Sandman speaks to the eyes in a demonic language. The slit closes and the door creaks open. A thrall stands before the slouching occultist, with its wings draping over its shoulders like a cape. The thrall speaks, but is quickly interrupted by its master. "In human tongue, I'm too weak to decipher your language." "My apologies, master," the creature replies with a short bow. The demon realizes that his master is gravely wounded and helps him inside. The two make their way through a torchlit corridor. It is an alleyway between two buildings that have been boarded up to keep intruders away. They enter an area masked by the surrounding buildings. Several more thralls are perched above Sandman on fire escapes. Small rectangular flower beds line the perimeter of the area. A wide metal cage is fastened between all neighboring buildings. Various plants with vegetables are sprouting up. In the middle is an open manhole with a ladder. All the thralls bow before their human chieftain as he enters the pit. He pays no mind to the gesture and limps to the ladder. He descends about 20 feet before reaching the bottom. He steps out into a wide-open sewer system, decorated into a headquarters in time of need. Many of the older and longer-possessed thralls are stationed here. Torches line all of the walls with an oval doorway to the left. Sandman proceeds through the entranceway with the help of the thrall. It is an infirmary of sorts, with several wilted cots and tables displaying various tools. The thrall aids his master to an old metal chair. The demon walks over to a cabinet, grabbing a small vial filled with a dark liquid. Sandman pulls his dark pants down, revealing both makeshift tourniquets. Another thrall enters with a piece of wood and places it in his wounded commander's mouth. The creature walks over to a table and lights an old Bunsen burner. Grabbing a slender metal bar, the demon holds it over the burner while the other pours the dark liquid over the wound. Sandman grunts in pain as he bites down on the wood. Damp mud and mold overrun his taste buds. However, the pain from the dark liquid quickly overshadows the grotesque taste that oozes over his palate. As the iron rod reaches adequate temperature, the thrall walks to his fatigued master and cauterizes the laceration on his left thigh. Sandman bites down harder as the lava-hot rod sears the wound closed. The rod is only there mere seconds, but it feels like an eternity for the fallen king. The vapor of seared flesh wafts upward and tickles Sandman's nose. The demon pulls back the rod, giving his master a small reprieve before continuing with the cut across his right calf. The same routine is repeated. First the dark liquid, then the searing of flesh with the iron bar. More agonizing moans fill the dank sewer. The second thrall dresses the wounds with bandages. Drained of energy, both thralls help pull their master's pants back up. One demon reheats the iron bar as the other examines the rest of the ragged, tattooed body for more injuries. Pulling the trench coat from Sandman's shoulders reveals 2 pieces of shrapnel buried deep in his left shoulder. The demon speaks to the bar-wielding medic. The creature turns back and acknowledges, placing the rod down and reaching for another set of tools. It comes back with a pair of vice grips. The thrall attaches the jaws to the larger shard and clamps down. In a fluid stroke, the demon yanks the shard out, leaving a 3-inch diameter gap. Sandman yells, more in anger than in pain, kicking the demon in the crotch. The beast falls to his knees as Sandman thrusts his right hand over the creature's face. The ethereal shaman positions his thumb over the temple of the thrall and speaks an invocation, causing the demon to squeal in a mix of terror and pain. The molecular structure of the thrall starts to break down, forming into a mix of black liquid smoke. Like a magnet, the smoky molecules absorb through Sandman's palm. The demon master bathes in every last drop of the demon's essence, which in turn heals the demented occultist from the inside. The dark energy sends his body into a state of healing overdrive, repairing torn ligaments and fractured bones. A cool warmth flows over the Sandman's body. The temporary euphoric state gives the other demon a small window to yank out the last shrapnel without his lord realizing. The creature secures the vice grips over the shard and, without hesitation, rips it free from its flesh prison. Sandman doesn't acknowledge. He leans back in the chair with a calm demeanor, letting the dark essence of his servant continue to course through his body. Like all things in the universe, nothing comes free. Every action produces an equal reaction with a price to pay. His price for every demonic act is a small piece of himself, an offering of his soul for an equivalent piece of ethereal energy. This dark power comes with a heavy toll. Slowly but surely, he is becoming what he seeks to rule. 20 or so minutes pass before the Sandman comes back from his intoxicated haze, looking over at his thrall's subject standing watch over him. The demon waits to do his master's bidding. This is from the knowledge of the book, the power it provides over its wielder. The demon's deep voice reverberates through Sandman's head. "Master, you're still weak from the soul steal. Please rest a bit longer." "I have no time to rest. There is more work to be done. I need the rest of the pheromone to continue with the arachnid experiment. It produced quite the success with manipulating the hive mind." 2 more caped thralls enter the infirmary. Any identifying characteristic of the host body that created individuality has vanished from prolonged possession. The light from the torches cast more shadow over the dark gray skin of the 3 demons. One of the thralls that enter the room hesitantly speaks to his human lord, with his head lowered like a scolded puppy. "We have used up all the pheromone. There is none left." Sandman throws a scolded gaze at the cowering demon before speaking. "Well, get more from Drusilla." "We would, master, but—" "But what?" "We've lost her." "What do you mean, we've lost her?" Sandman moves closer to the fearful servant as the others take several steps back, isolating the speaking demon. The creature continues with his eyes staring at Sandman's feet. The demon can feel his master's hateful gaze. "She vanished from her location without a trace. We've scoured the city and the outlying perimeter with no success." Sandman holds back the fury that fills his body. He wants nothing more than to relieve his stress by draining the essence from this demon, but he restrains himself. He pats the demon on the shoulder, then turns back to the chair, reaches for his tattered trench coat, and flips it around his back. He moves out of the infirmary and into the open area. It is circular, with other tunnel entrances branching from this room. The sewer system is dank, but without any off-putting odors. Sandman made it a point for his creatures to keep his bases hospitable. He stops in the middle of the room as his thralls stand in line behind him. He continues his inquiries on current events. "So, we have no more pheromone to control the arachnids, and all imp pods were destroyed in the collapse. In one single night, we've lost the majority of my army. Years of hard work and preparation right down the shitter. Is there any news you can give me that won't cause me to send each of you back to the ethereal shithole I pulled you from?" The demons stand in a straight line with their heads sunk in shame. The silence is deafening. The boiling anger in his soul rises back to the surface as he moves his right index finger over to his left hand. He traces it over another tattooed rune between his index and thumb. Before Sandman finishes the trace, another demon enters from a tunnel to his left. "We've done it, Master." The demon excitedly advances closer and bows to Sandman. "We've acquired his name." Sandman stops the trace, and his eyes widen. The cool flood of excitement washes the fire of anger. He turns to the thralls still at a bow. "Show me." The thrall lifts his head and ushers his captain through the tunnel. The remaining possessed servants follow closely behind their master as they hurry through the passageway. They walk 30 yards through the tunnel before hanging a left at the fork. From there, Sandman and the cluster of demons continue forward to a set of staircases descending down. The stairs lead to a wide area with a large bonfire illuminating the room. The shadows dance hypnotically across prison bars lining the left wall. Several torture devices sit along the right wall. Each torture table holds a person in varying stages of the demonic metamorphosis. One poor individual is secured to a damp wooden table by his wrists and ankles. His face is bound in an iron mask. A small, frail thrall is using an elongated blade to peel back dead flesh. The globby skin plops on the floor as the demon shakes the blade clean with each stroke. Underneath the dead gelatinous cocoon is a fresh layer of grayish pigment. Every passing day brings the demon closer into this plane of existence, devouring the host's human essence. A large tank sits in the right-hand corner, filled with a green liquid. A body floats in the tank with a metal mask over the face and a breathing apparatus over the nose and mouth. A hose is attached to the mouthpiece on both sides, which treks out of the tank and attaches to a generator sitting on the floor. The low hum of the device lends itself to the dark moans resonating throughout the room. The group pays no attention to the ongoing experiments as they move past the massive stone bonfire and into the dark void ahead. Entering the veiled entryway, they turn left and then an immediate right into yet another torch-lit room. Here lies the prize Sandman so eagerly anticipates. The tattooed occultist walks to the wooden table in the corner, where his precious book lays in wait for its master. One of the thralls placed the book in its resting place, while the other demons tended to their master's wounds. Sandman opens the leather-bound book and flips toward the back. Presented for many pages are lists of names written in the demon language. He snaps his fingers over his right shoulder. A thrall traipses over and places a small piece of folded cloth in the master's hand. He unfolds the fabric and reads the black, smeared lettering. He goes back to the book and thumbs through the pages, his finger tracking along each word. He makes it to the third page before his finger stops over the word the frantic conjurer was looking for. He holds the name deep within his mind, then closes the book. Sandman turns around, looking at the bound prisoner. Secured against the brick wall stands a fully transformed demon. The creature is bound tighter than any of the other experiments in the previous room. The entity's ankles, wrists, abdomen, biceps, and neck are all fastened to the wall. The demon's skin is black as a moonless night, with a bluish tinge. It towers over the thralls with massive muscles. No doubt Sandman took his time, selecting the perfect host for his magnum opus. Every inch of the demon's dark flesh is seared with runes and divine symbols. He's poured through every ounce of dark knowledge to pull and keep the demon in this reality. Sandman takes great pride in surveying over his work, lastly gazing into the creature's black eyes. Cartilage, like a thrall, is missing from the demon's nose. The slanted nostrils expand agitatedly with anger as the creature stares at its captor. Two curved horns protrude out from the dark beast's forehead, extending up and over its bald head. Sandman leans in and whispers to the prisoner, "I told you that I would acquire your name." The demon interrupts the occultist. Spit flies off the demon's cracked lips as it speaks in a dark language. Sandman politely lets the creature finish its cursing while wiping the saliva from his face. Sandman smiles callously. "Are you finished, demon?" The beast growls as it replies to Sandman in the human language.
"You know not what you meddle in, flesh sack. I will rip out your arms and rape you as I indulge on your face. You will not keep me trapped in this vessel for long, and once free, I will return to the ethereal plane and search out your ancestors and remove them from their eternal existence."
Sandman smirks while inching closer, not wanting the demon to miss the next phrase uttered. As his lips move, the air resonates, creating the letters of the name of the elder demon, thus giving the occultist complete control over the entity while trapped inside the human vessel. The sound brings with it a massive weight, as the demon recognizes its name and instantly loses control over its will. Zithrin. As the word penetrates the eardrums of the primordial creature, its eyes start to cloud milky white. Sandman steps back and orders the thralls to unshackle the beast. Two reluctantly walk over to release the imprisoned demon. As the last shackle is unbound, the demon takes a step forward, standing erect. It doesn't move another inch for several moments. Sandman stares hard into the demon's white-shot eyes for an instant, observing for any sign of free will. The creature before him is vacant and motionless. The threatening aura that had surrounded the demon mere moments ago have vanished. Sandman speaks to the marionette. "Kneel before me." Without hesitation, the demon kneels before its human master. The occultist grins in delight. Again, he speaks to the demonic vessel. "Who is your master?" Without any reluctance, the demon responds to Sandman with a deep tone. "Sandman." "Good. Kill the 4 thralls behind me." Before the thralls can ascertain the words spoken by their master, Zithrin lashes out at the group. It takes hold of the closest thrall's arms, ripping them off and beating another thrall to death with them. One of the winged creatures leaps toward the horned devil, but is knocked back by a swift kick. The thrall slams into the brick wall and is impaled by the demon's charging left hand. For the last thrall, the demon servant spins around and unleashes a flurry of punches. Zithrin uses its last swing to grasp the thrall's neck. It squeezes and pulls simultaneously, popping the head off the thrall's shoulders. A fountain of black blood gushes out as the body falls to the ground. Sandman claps and howls in wild, sadistic delight. The other 2 thralls recoil into the corner, trying not to draw the attention of their manic captain. Too late, however, as the buzz-haired madman locks eyes with one of them. "You 2, stand up." They stand before Sandman and his new pet. "You both are now my generals." He points down to the bloody, beaten mess at his feet. "Don't make the same mistakes they did." The creatures bow as Sandman turns back to his magnum opus. He slaps the demon on the shoulder and speaks as the horned devil stands motionless. "I have a job for you, Zithrin. There is a hunter I need you to find."